Shawn Ray, Flex Wheeler, and Dorian Yates here moments after the athletes meeting at the 45th annual Mr. Olympia competition. King Dorian, I'm going to start with you. You're the winner of this contest for 6 times and a first-time runner-up. First-time runner-up back in. First-time runner-up. Can I borrow one of your trophies? Your first time at the Olympia was in 1991. You lost to totally Lee Haney.
Yeah.
You went to Helsinki, Finland, and you won there in 92. You turned around and you beat Flex Wheeler's ass in 93 in Atlanta.
And I beat you.
And you beat me. So it is the 45th year. And Dorian, you came all the way in from England. We've got some pretty deep athletes in this competition. People are really excited about this one, more so almost since 1998 when Ronnie Coleman came in and upset the apple cart. Dexter Jackson, the defending champion. Is this a title that's kind of slippery in his hands with the heels of Kai Green and Jay Cutler and some of these other guys?
He's got a hell of a lot of competition this year. It's probably the most open Olympia since I can remember ever, really.
It doesn't seem to be a real criteria this year.
You got 4 or 5 guys there that could potentially win the contest depending on what shape they come in. So I think it's exciting for the fans.
Flex, the landscape has changed dramatically. Back when we were going against Dorian and Ronnie Coleman, it seemed to be almost a foregone conclusion because we couldn't outmuscle these guys. You seem to be leaning towards Dexter Jackson being able to defend this title. Why would he be able to do that against a guy like Kai Green, who's improving every year, Victor Martinez, who still is kind of questionable based on the things that's been going on, and a young Phil Heath, who's coming up fast?
Right, and not just those guys. I mean, he has some other former opponents that he's going to be going also against. But like I said before, my statement, personally and professionally, I mean, it is his title. I talked to him, I know him as a friend, so I know he's very hungry. At first, when he first won the Olympia last year, he said, I'm happy I can go home and never have to worry about it. But since then, it's changed. So again, I think he's very hungry for it, and as probably Dorian can contribute to, which we can't.
Right.
Win it the first time isn't enough. You want to retain that and hold that on. So I'm leaning towards him. And if someone decides that they actually beat him and change my mind, that's going to happen. But until that happens, I'm going to go with him.
Well, let's talk about somebody that's lost the title and is still in pursuit of trying to regain that. Jay Cutler, 2-time Mr. Olympia, lost the title, got second place. Where does he fit in the landscape of all this stuff with these guys that are so deep in talent this year?
Well, I think Jay potentially could still win the contest if he got in the best shape he's ever been in. But he hasn't done that for a few years, and you have to ask why he hasn't done that. Is it a matter of motivation? Maybe if it was motivation now, he's going to be motivated, he's been beaten. Or is it just, he just can't get it together?
Well, let's talk to somebody that knows a thing or two about getting second place, 3 times second place in the Mr. Olympia. Is he hungrier now that he's lost the title, or is it going to be a little bit more competitive because he got the genetic freaks to go up against and get this back?
You know what, like Dorian said, I think it's honest that this is probably the most wide open Olympia that has been in history. And you know what, the talent, the arsenal that he's going against it's a new age of muscle and everything. I mean, me personally, it would be great for him to win. Again, I'm sure he would love that. But in all honesty, the guys that he's going against, the field is so much more heavier with guys who have just as much muscle as him but better condition and possibly can display themselves better. So the likelihood of that happening now, I think, is a lot slimmer because before he just had to deal with Dexter. But now, like you said, he has a Kai Green and he has a Victor who's coming back again. So I think that likelihood of that happening is like a lot slimmer and probably losing grip each time that he competes.
So where does that leave our tall guys? Tony Freeman, Dennis Wolf, these are 6-footers. Are they going to be able to do battle with guys like Phil Heath and Dexter that are a little bit more put together?
I think Tony maybe is going to have a hard time because for his frame, he probably still needs some more muscle. And at his age, he's in his 40s now, and he has a pec tear. I don't know how that's affecting his training, but it's going to be very difficult. Dennis Wolf, tons of potential, big frame, so if he's put on some more size, he's going to be dangerous.
Well, speaking of age, Flex, we got a lot of guys that are 40 plus this year. We know Troy Alves will be 43 this weekend. Durham Charles was 41 years old. Dennis James, who just won the Tampa and also the Europa, he's also 40. What does that say for bodybuilding? Are the careers getting longer because these guys are sticking around longer, or are there just not enough young guys able to compete with these guys with more maturity?
No, I don't think age is a factor going into this show. I mean, some guys can defy the age of time and stuff like that. Dennis and those guys obviously can do that, but everyone aren't able to do that. Like we were talking before, Lee Haney retired at the age of 31, and it was a rightful time for him to be able to do that. But these guys are just super exceeding that, so I don't think it's an age game, and those guys are proving that. Like before when they said, you're getting too old to compete, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, let's talk about someone that's interesting. In the posing aspect, obviously Kai Green is head and shoulders above a lot of the guys.
I mean, not literally, right? When he
head and shoulders on the headstand.
Right.
But like Melvin Anthony, he just got 4th place 2 weeks ago in Atlantic City. What's a guy like him do? He was 6th place 2 years in a row, and now he's coming off of 4th place only 2 weeks ago.
That's going to be difficult because the competition is, the depth is there now, you know. Whereas before there was probably 2 or 3 guys that can win it. Now there's 5 or 6. So I think he's going to have a hard time getting higher than the top 10, you know.
What's your opinion on all these guys qualifying to compete in the Mr. Olympia? You got the top 6, then you got top 5 at the Ironman, top 6 at the Arnold, top 5 in New York. We've got a lot of guys qualifying for this show, but it seems like there's only a handful of guys that are actually in contention. Silvio Samuel won the Pro Ironman back in January. Where does a guy like him wind up in the contest with this deep?
Again, it's going to be hard. I mean, for him to get in the top 10 now is going to be difficult. There's such a depth of quality there.
Well, Flex, what do you think about that? I mean, we had Troy Alves win the Orlando Pro, Dennis James won the Europa Pro and the Tampa Pro. We've got all these other guys winning these smaller shows. They come to the Olympia, and it seems like it's going to be hard to make the top 10.
Well, it just honestly shows how the competition is now. It reminds me back in the days of Mike Chrisman and Ron Love. I mean, it was an honor to place in the top 10 back in those days. When if you're like 9th in Olympia, people looked at you like wow. But that wow factor has been taken away because I think the depth of the competitors have diminished. Where now, like I said, it's probably 13 guys that can fit in that top spot of the top 10, and it's just not going to happen. So I think that's a tribute to the athletes and the condition that they're coming in now.
But one thing that no one has brought up, and that's the prize money, Dorian. $200,000 to the winner, $100,000 to second. To second. Is that enough?
Back in training, Flex?
No.
You stay out of the game long enough, the money's going to come up. Do you think it weighs heavy on the minds of any of these guys, like Dexter Jackson, who won $375,000 in prize money a year ago? Is the title more prestigious, or is that check very important right now?
I guess it depends on the individual. I was always competing for the title, and the check was secondary. I think if you just start doing it for the money, then you're losing some of the hunger that you need to really push yourself to the limit. So I think the title's the most important thing.
Well, Flex, you always competed for the money. You got 4 Arnold Classic championships, $100,000 apiece. What does it represent to you in terms of bodybuilding now that they're actually increasing the prize money? And mind you, they're really only increasing it at the top, because the bottom guys this year are going to make $2,000 less than they made last year for getting here.
Well, like yourself, I've always felt that bodybuilding is sad, the amount of money that we make. Every other sport in the world has to come into our world to be able to get in shape, whether you're a boxer, a swimmer, whatever. You have to come into our world to be able to get in shape to do your own craft. The prize money is great. I still think it's way too low. I mean, I did always look at prize money when I went to the show, but that didn't stop me from wanting to win. Obviously, if you won, then you got the higher prize money. So,
It really
at the
is
end
a
of the
winner take all.
Oh yeah, definitely. But at the end of the day, when you're retired like we are now, and the prize money's gone, and the award's still standing up there, so I can understand that. But back in the heat of the battle, that's what drove me. I mean, that's what paid my bills and stuff like that. So that's what I was focused on.
Well, in the 44-year history of the Mr. Olympia, there's only been 11 champions. You've got 6 of those titles. Do you think we're going to have a new champion this Saturday night, or do you think it's up for grabs?
I would definitely put money on a new champion. I don't know who it's going to be.
Okay.
My best guess is it's going to be Kai or Phil Heath.
Kai or Phil Heath, which I'm going to go with you on that. Flex?
I would say it would be Dexter or Phil Heath.
Who will be the surprise, Dorian? I mean, somebody's got to come in this show and surprise everybody. Who do you think that's going to be?
I mean, it could be Dennis Wolf, because I think last year he was well below his potential. He was actually better the year before.
Right.
So now if he's rectified those mistakes, and I hear he's 10, 12 pounds heavier, which his frame can take, then he could be a surprise.
And Flex, we saw Darren Charles said he's 245 pounds. He's never been that heavy in his life. Actually, he's off-season at that weight. He's 245. What do you think about that?
You know, I think it's just, again, it's showing how bodybuilding has changed. Where, shape and just having a little bit of muscle isn't going to go these days. So, I remember I heard you asking him, did you ever think you'd weigh that amount? And he said no, but it's just the way it is now. You need to have size, shape, and to be able to display that, to be able to compete in these days. I want to ask Dorian a question. Do you think out of the top guys who are in the running for the Olympia Championship, if they were working with you, do you think you'd be able to help them achieve that and be a definitive champion come Saturday?
Well, everybody has to have a different approach. So maybe my approach wouldn't work for everybody else. Physically and mentally, we're all different,
Yeah, well, we got 48 hours to find out what's going to happen. Friday night's the pre-judging. They've got to hold that until Saturday night. I found out that they're going to judge each night equally, where some people thought, Saturday night it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to find out what the judges do. I'm going to go with Dorian here with Kai or Phil Heath. You're going to stay with the defending champion?
I'm going to stay with Dexter or Phil Heath.
Okay, well, this is the first year, Dorian, in the 44-year history of the Mr. Olympia that Ben Weeder, who passed away last year, is not going to be with us. So we want to give a shout out to the Ben Weeder family. On behalf of Flex Wheeler, Dorian Yates. I'm Shawn Ray from MuscularDevelopment.com.